Hello, 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 MCR family. A little post-fight show for you guys live tonight, obviously in reaction to the Ryan Garcia, uh, uh, Francisco Fonseca main event on DAZN, Golden Boy Boxing. It was a lights out performance by Ryan Garcia. Literally, what, a 90-second knockout in the first round with a nice check hook. Put out Fonseca in dominant fashion. Obviously, we're going to talk about Jorge Linares as well in the co-main event, dispatching Carlos Morales in rather dominant fashion as well in the fourth round. A lot to get to on tonight's card, especially in that doubleheader, so to speak, and what that means for the future of Golden Boy and DAZN in both men. But I'm joined, as usual, on this show by the one and only Gary in Dallas. Gary, how are you, man?
I'm good. Speaking of Dallas, Virgil Ortiz was in the building. The future of Golden Boy, the next generation of Golden Boy. That was again. I've been Ryan Garcia's biggest detractor. Like I said, he's not good. Like he sucks less than he used to suck, but he still sucks. I can't say anything bad about that. I thought Fonseca was going to be would go rounds.
Yeah, for sure. I thought you would too.
I was not expecting that. I know he comes up from 130, but I was saying I thought it would go the distance. I really did. So I can't say anything bad about Ryan Garcia. That was a sensational knockout. He hurt him twice earlier in the fight, so it wasn't like that punch came out. He was Ryan Garcia looks vastly improved, right? Like if there was an award for most improved, like they would go to Ryan Garcia.
In the last 6 months or so, probably. You're right, maybe a year. Lubin and him might be in that equation, right? Depending where you sort of like what frame of time we're talking about, what sort of 2019, 2020, 2018, Lubin's in that mix, obviously. But to circle back to those improvements from Ryan Garcia, obviously it's so hard to really tell what improvements he had because it was a 90-second fight. But one improvement I saw from Ryan Garcia in this fight is his ability to stay in the pocket from pressure and exchange in the pocket, mid-combination of his opponent. He's always been athletic, powerful, has always been really good, but he's usually a guy that needs to be walking forward to get his offense going and then to get his combinations going. He's had moments of a flashy check hook, but he's never put it together in a real smart technical way. And obviously Eddie Reneso has added that IQ to that check hook that he's had, the counters that he has, and overall just the composure that he has now on the inside and when he faces pressure. That's an obvious improvement. And whether that's to Eddie or just experience now, being having more time in the ring, having more time in just the sport, being more composed against pressure fighters. But he obviously did. Francesca came at him, and he just got caught with everything. Every time he tried to go through that no man's land of distance and range, he got caught by something by Ryan Garcia, and obviously got put out by that check hook that was beautiful. Again, in that first round. Obviously, what's next for Ryan Garcia is connected with the co-main event. So let's just kind of just bring it up now. Jorge Linares beat Carlos Morales in the fourth round via TKO, should I say KO. And I wouldn't... Is Linares back? Because obviously Ryan Garcia, Jorge Linares is next. And I think for a lot of people, depending on how you answer that former question of is Linares back, changes how you answer the latter question. Who wins the Ryan Garcia or Linares fight? So, Gary, thoughts on that Linares fight in the co-main event as well? And did you see Linares back? Is he back to his form, or at least close to it?
I mean, the question, no, he's not. I mean, it was a good. So I got a couple thoughts. Yes, it was a good performance.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
Gary, can you turn yourself up just a little bit, please? Just a little bit, yeah.
Is that better?
A lot better. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. He did what he was supposed to do. He got him out. He looked good. Here's what I would say. His reflexes used to be so quick and so sharp. They weren't as quick and sharp. You can see he's aging, right? It's not just that he's 34. It's that he's been through all those wars. Like, he's good, but, like, it's like Tom Brady. He's good. He's not what he, I don't want to say he's Tom Brady, but you know what I'm saying? Like, he's still good, but he's not going to be what he was. Right? The reflexes aren't what they were. Although they're still good, he's not going to be the fighter he was, like when we talk about the Luke Campbell fight, as when he was a featherweight. I you're going to ask me, yeah, I still think his skills are good enough to beat Ryan Garcia.
Okay, let's dissect that because obviously I think that's going to be the talking point of tonight and probably tomorrow is the next fight because both fighters, both A sides in the fights we're talking about were foreseen to have won these fights beforehand, and they did, and they largely did that in spectacular fashion. You mentioned the lack of reflexes by Linares in this fight, and I want to add to that criticism of Linares moving forward. His head movement, which used to be really good, seems to be utterly non-existent at this time. He was eating really simple jabs from Carlos Morales, and the big question I have is if we see that same Linares step in there against Ryan Garcia, what's to stop Linares from just eating those very fast, powerful, sharp shots that now have a added technical ability to it when talking about Ryan Garcia? I see Ryan Garcia landing combinations kind of at will because Linares' head movement is non-existent now. And again, when he lands combinations, and even if he doesn't, Ryan Garcia packs speed and power in ways that Linares just doesn't have anymore, even with a good TKO win in this fight. I mean, he beat Carlos Morales, who's a good opponent too, to a degree. So, Gary, thoughts on that? I mean, is the defense of Linares still there enough to contend with Ryan Garcia? Because I think offensively speaking, he's going to be outgunned. Even if it was a great Linares, I still see Ryan Garcia being the better offensive fighter at this point in time. It's all about Linares' defense. Can he get on the bike? Can he move? He can't.
No, he can't. And like I was watching it with my best friend who's visited me for a few days, and he's a big MMA fan. He doesn't really watch boxing, right? He's a huge MMA, but he has an eye. You can tell he has an eye for combat sport. Because I was telling him Linares is lightning quick. But watching the first one, he goes, "Dude, he's not any quicker than Morales." I was like, you know what I'm saying? Because like I still have this image in my head of Morales of Linares being lightning quick, and like having a third party, he's like, "Dude, he's not any quicker than the other guy." That's not great. Although he's still plenty quick. You see that extra speed's not there. That the head movement, he's slowed down. You know what I'm saying? Look, no, he's going to eat a ton of big shots, right? And if Ryan Garcia's power is real, like he knocked out a 130 pounder, his power is good. Can he knock out Linares? Now, Linares
point out that he knocked out that 130 pounder faster than a lot of other people that have fought that 130 pounder.
But we don't question Tank Davis's power, right? And Tank Davis took him 8 rounds, and the knockout was still kind of iffy, right? Because he hit him in the back of the head, clearly. This is going to be they're both going to eat a lot of shots. So here's why I would lean towards Linares, right? Linares has been through that before. The only time we saw Garcia pushed was the Velez fight, and he didn't like being pushed. We know Linares is
that was how many years ago without Eddie Renesso? So that's a completely incomparable Ryan Garcia. That's like me talking about Manny Pacquiao at 115 pounds and saying, can that Manny Pacquiao beat Earl Spence or Terrence Crawford? It's like, no, it's not. Why are we bringing up that version of Manny Pacquiao? That's not existent anymore. Maybe you're not comparing Manny Pacquiao and Ryan Garcia as a one-to-one analog, but just pointing out that fighters do evolve and change, and prospects rapidly do.
Sure, but we don't like these last 2 fights. We haven't seen him pushed at all. Like he got rid of him so quick. We don't know how he's going to respond, right? And it's probably not fair to say, well, Jason Velez pushed him. That's got to be at least 2 years ago now, right?
If not more, probably.
Right, so it's not really fair, but I don't have another sample size to look at. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know what I have in Linares, even though he's probably only 85% of what he used to be. You think less than that?
Yeah.
I
mean, Gary, you got to watch that fight back and just count the jabs that land on Linares. Yeah. He got cut up and bruised up from the jab alone. Think about that. Linares getting touched up by a jab. Linares used to have some of the best head movement in the lightweight division when he was kind of reigning as that pseudo unified champion, so to speak. I don't know. And plus, I think Ryan Garcia is turning the corner. I think that is undeniable that he, as a prospect, is making that technical leap you need to do as a prospect to then fight at the elite level. Okay. Yes, he hasn't fought enough rounds for us to maybe make that a conclusive statement. But what little we do have is, I think, indicative of him turning that corner. And to add to a wrinkle to, I think, his improvement, technically speaking, I saw him slipping off with that shoulder and countering a lot better than he used to. I think he's just improving so much under that Eddie Ernesto and Canelo tutelage.
You can see, like, look, he has turned the corner. Now, in order to have fought Linares, he had to go from, like, not just turning the corner, but jump on the highway. You know what I'm saying? Like, has he turned the corner enough?
You're acting like Pablo Cesar Cano did not ice Linares in one round.
He did, but what do you make of that fight? After having seen, because I would have said Cano is bigger than Morales, but they're like comparable skill set, right? Like,
No. They're comparable skill set. Cano's definitely the heavier hitter, definitely bigger, right? Like that's out of the question. But that does matter. He is bigger. He does have the power. Ryan Garcia, he is bigger. He does have the power, And then again, as we're talking about his technical ability making that turn around that corner, it is. So the divide, technically speaking, that Linares theoretically would have, I don't think is even there anymore. Carlos Morales was out jabbing Linares. Linares was just more powerful than Morales. He was at extra level above in terms of power, and he gritted out the first 2 rounds. So the first 2 rounds for Linares were not good rounds for him. He may have won them, but they were not good rounds for him at all. Ryan Garcia has been dominant, largely speaking, since he's gone to Canelo's camp. It's hard to count against Ryan Garcia unless we start bringing up Gervonta Davis. Let's start bringing up Lomachenko, Tifema Lopez, maybe a Devin Haney. Then it becomes more of a conversation of, does he beat those guys? He needs to prove more. Linares, though, is that stepping stone to obviously show us he's ready for those guys. I think he's going to pass that test with flying colors as well.
And I'm really impressed because I thought, not that like I thought Fonseca was a live dog, like he had any real chance of winning, but I thought he was I thought we were going to go to the scorecards that was going to be 7-3, maybe 8-2, where Fonseca accounted for himself. He landed a lot of shots, but he was outclassed, outgunned by a much better athlete. But I was expecting it to be a good challenge, and we all walk away from the fight saying, see, told you Ryan Garcia ain't ready yet. Like, we walked away from the fight with a complete opposite feeling, right? Like, wow, that was impressive. And I've been the biggest hater of Ryan Garcia, saying the kid is, nothing but a gimmick, a good-looking Oscar wannabe who's never.
Not that. He's not a gimmick. He may not be the next Oscar, because Oscar's a legend, but he's probably going to collect a belt in his career. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, he's 21, right? 20?
If Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson can pick up belts, legitimate belts too, Charles Martin, for fuck's sake, Ryan Garcia's picking up a belt in his career.
Oscar have the luster to get him that belt, right? Because Oscar largely seems not to care, right? Like, is he going to go out there and really push to get him a bogus belt, like they did with Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson and Charles Martin? I don't know. I don't know. What I say with Virgil Ortiz and Ryan Garcia, the future looks okay for Golden Boy. Like, they have to do a better. They're trying to make Virgil a star, right? They're trying to get his personality to match his skills.
Quickly, Leonard is asking in the chat, did they confirm on DAZN Garcia, Linares, July, and Staples Center? Oscar did say that they have that venue. What's the term? I'm forgetting right now. It's 10 o'clock at night. On hold. They reserved that venue for that date. So assumingly that fight's going to happen. They asked Linares post-fight with Oscar there in the ring. They all seem, that fight's going to happen next. Linares was like super happy too. Like, thank you, Oscar, for giving me all the opportunities to collect a big check. Thank you. And obviously I think it's going to be a huge, air quotes, huge event for the LA area, having Ryan Garcia, Linares, and Staples Center. So that's going to happen for sure. And July is most likely around that. I'm assuming also around Independence Day. The UFC historically has had a really big event around Independence Day weekend. I would not be surprised if boxing looks at that and tries to add to that, especially DAZN. They seem to want to add stuff to like holidays and other sort of more mainstream days and events and, sort of celebrations. Gary, where are you percentage-wise on Garcia Linares? Because before this fight, I would say you were like 90% sure Linares would beat Ryan Garcia.
So
how are you now?
I was at probably 80%. Then after Linares won, I was at 95%. And then
No.
and that kind of changed. Like, I'm still picking him. I would say 65%.
Tony, hold on. Tony Bracamontes. Bracamontes, sorry. Hope I pronounced that right. Saying Gary's waiting on that Ryan versus Tanahara super fight. Yes. He is.
I'm going to pick my boy, right? Obviously. But I'm not, before this fight, I would have said Tanahara beats him 100-90 or 120-108. Like, he just outboxes them all day. I'm still going to pick my boy because he's the better pure boxer. But that was impressive stuff by Ryan Garcia. I can't hate on it. It was a good performance, right?
And Gary, I have some contention with you after that Linares fight, then improving from 80% to 95%, thinking that Linares would win that fight. You need to watch that fight again. That was one of those fights that even though he got an early knockout, it was like, this isn't impressive at all.
You're kind of right about that. I thought he lost the first round, to be honest. I gave the first round to Morales because he got out jabbed. And then the second round was kind of even. You probably give it to Linares, and then the third round. So you had a pretty even fight, you would say, going into the knockout? Yeah.
Quickly, guys, in the chat and the comment section down below, when you listen to this on playback, right down below, who do you think wins, Ryan Garcia or Jorge Linares? Gary, as I pull up the card, I don't have it pulled up because, I was having some tech issues. Thoughts on the Oscar De La Hoya continuing to talk about Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia at the end of the year, and even Chris Mannix asking Oscar about that during the telecast. Thoughts on that at this point, a fantasy matchup? Because obviously that's not next. We're having Linares next. I mean, they have a venue and date reserved for that fight. That's going to be next. But after that, this fantasy matchup that Golden Boy and DAZN is pushing, is there any reality to it? Or is it just smoke in the wind and a way of them diverting from an in-house network fight that could be made, aka Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia?
So here's the thing with that. Like, I think it could be made if Oscar understands that he's in no position. He's not the A side, even though Ryan Garcia may be a big star and he looked like it drew well. Like, you're gonna have to take what I offer you because I have other options, right? And I don't. Like, I think they'll have negotiations. I think that they'll try to make this fight, but I don't think Oscar's going to be willing to take short money on this because he thinks Ryan Garcia is a bigger deal than he is. And maybe he is, but he doesn't have any options. Right?
It's not that he's necessarily a bigger deal than what he is to the point where he's like an A side. It's almost along the lines of what we were talking about when it came to Warrington Stevenson, when it comes to US TV, right? There is a debate about who is an A side in a certain sliver of that category. Where's that fight going to be at? Not what network is. Oh, Gary, what happened? Oh, there you go. Came back. It scared me. What happened? But obviously that fight is, in terms of network, there's no way DAZN has the leverage over Showtime at this point when it comes to a Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis fight. Not overall. DAZN is looking very well, looking good right now in terms of growth. Showtime boxing now as well. But in terms of just purely that fight, Showtime has more leverage. Gervonta Davis has more leverage in terms of dictating the network of the fight. However, location. Ryan Garcia just proved tonight, and obviously we're going to hear back on attendance in terms of total numbers and comps and all that probably in the next few weeks, and also gate revenue we should hear about in the next 24, 48 hours. Ryan Garcia most likely is just proved he is a ticket seller in Los Angeles or the greater LA area because, Honda Center. And obviously with the Linares fight in July, he might even further cement that in terms of being at Staples Center. The question of where that fight should be at will be a conversation that is contentious between those two parties because there is not a clear answer about who is the A side in terms of location.
And I thought, I know Tank has fought a lot on Showtime, if not all of his fights on Showtime.
Yeah, I think all of them. Except for nope, because that was pay-per-view. I was going to say the Mayweather-McGregor card, but that was pay-per-view. You found the pay-per-view.
I would say, because Tank is a draw on the East Coast. He did well in Atlanta. He did really well in Baltimore. I don't know that you're going to want to put a pay-per-view fight or that. I mean, I don't want. That was where I was going with this. Are they going to try to put it on pay-per-view?
Yeah, of course. It's pay-per-view.
Okay. Then I would say put it in LA. And then, like that would be like my negotiating point. Look, you want this fight, we'll put it in LA, but Showtime, we get the rights to the fight. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be I'll give you the fight in LA if I'm making some kind of concession, because it would obviously sell better there. And then it'll be a pay-per-view. It's like they put Spence versus Porter was in LA, right?
Yes, Spencer Porter was LA. Yes.
Wilder Fury was in. I like big fights better when they're in New York or LA or it's some big market because it's a bigger push. Right? Vegas. If you go to Vegas now, they have UNLV preseason football and UNLV basketball. Like that's it. Like it's not a big sports town or media town when there's not a special event there. In New York and LA, you can push it, much earlier in the process, and you have every media outlet there at all times. I like the fight there. The only thing is, like, this is such a good fight. Like, you have two young stars, and then they're going to put it on pay-per-view and hide it. It's like, that sucks. But that's what's going to happen. So I would say Showtime pay-per-view in LA would make the most sense to me.
What does more pay-per-view buys? This is going to be a really hypothetical question. I know the chat's going to like this one. What does more pay-per-view buys? Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia, or Gervonta Davis, Leo Santa Cruz?
Davis, Garcia.
Okay. Is it obvious? I thought it was, but then I was like, oh, maybe it's not. Leo Santa Cruz has been on Fox a lot. He's been around the sport for a much longer period of time. He has sold quite well in LA and in other markets as well. I mean, it's not like he's on a draw. He's just not pushed like Ryan is.
I say, like, Garcia does a much better. The Garcia fight does a noticeably better number. I think it does a fairly decent number just because Ryan Garcia has such a big following. And Tank Davis has his own following. So, like, what Garcia adds is way more than what Leo Santa Cruz adds, even though Santa Cruz is obviously a much more proven commodity.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. You ready to talk about the undercard briefly here? Alex Rocha defeating Brad Solomon via unanimous decision. First off, brief shots at all of the judges. Well, two of the judges that had it 189 and then 99, 91?
99.90.
99.90. Yeah. That is some of the worst judging I've ever seen. Like that 189 scorecard is up there with the worst scorecards in recent memory.
Jamal Charlo versus Korobov. One guy had it like one of the judges had it 119 to 110 or 109.
It's like, what fight were you watching? You obviously weren't watching the fight, Judge. You just wrote it down. Like, let's just be honest about it. Because Brad Solomon, and it shows the levels of Virgil Ortiz to a degree, right? I know you're going to be happy about me bringing that up. Alex Rocha, good prospect. Virgil Ortiz, great prospect. And Brad Solomon was that barometer test to show us. Rocha, in my opinion, was largely outboxed in this fight. Like, I could have seen a scorecard for Solomon maybe before that knockdown. Maybe the knockdown was that thing that swung the fight in his favor for sure. But I thought Brad Solomon was stealing rounds, like left and right. I thought he was landing great shots. His jab was on point. I just thought overall he was walking down Rocha at times. It was just a really good performance by Brad Solomon in a fight that I don't think any of us thought he was going to perform well in, coming off a knockout loss to Virgil Ortiz not too long ago, just a couple months ago. So, Gary, thoughts on Alex Rocha defeating Brad Solomon via unanimous decision? Thoughts on the scorecards? Thoughts on maybe the comparison of Rocha Ortiz to a degree? Thoughts on Rocha as a prospect? I'm not too high on him at this point, to be honest.
No, you can see, like, I had it 95, 94 for Rocha. Meaning I had a 5 with the knockdown. The difference when they read out the first scorecard, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me!
And right? He knew who it was for instantly.
Yeah, because it's 189, right? I was like, are you kidding me? Like that is inexplainable. Like that's inexplicable. 108. You scored no rounds, and then the second just scored 1 round. I thought it was a fairly even fight. And like going in, I had it 5-4 for Solomon. I was like, I think Roach is losing this fight. He's got to get going, and he did. So kudos to him for that. But yeah, I mean, Brad Solomon is a 36-year-old, never has been, right? So Like this guy no showed in the Virgil Ortiz fight. Like, and maybe it was just Ortiz. Maybe he tasted Ortiz's power early, so I want nothing to do with
Or
it.
the layoff. Maybe it was the layoff.
Maybe. But that was a horrible performance he gave against Virgil Ortiz. And he looked like he had skills. You know, he was quick. He
looked like the savvy veteran you want to give that tough fight to a prospect.
Exactly. And it gave him a much tougher fight than he expected. I don't think that the ceiling is that high on Rocha. I mean,
credit to his dad, though, man. Like, his dad must have heard those scorecards and man, fuck, we are lucky. Because he was yelling at his son from like round 7, 8 on. He was like, dude, you're losing this fight. Like, he was yelling, berating his son. And he did one thing I really liked when he was like, stop telling me yes. Tell me why you're messing up. Like I thought, I've always give dad coaches and dad trainers a lot of shit, but I thought his dad did a decent job in the corner training him. It's just that Alex Rocha isn't that great of a prospect, and Brad Solomon is a savvy veteran who showed up tonight. Tony Bracamonte saying that's not his dad. Wasn't his dad in his corner? It was just somebody else in his corner then? My bad. I thought his dad was the head trainer. My apologies. Then I take back everything I said. Doesn't matter. Good trainer, though, because his trainer was yelling at him, fuck it, you're losing the fight. And that's rare to hear trainers to the A side prospect yell that at their fighter.
He had that in the fight with the what's the super middleweight? Anthony Sims. His trainer's like, you're losing. And he's like, nuh-uh. It's like, do you think your trainer's lying to you? Like,
I forgot that he said that he denied it. He was like, no, trainer, I'm good. Like, that performance was so upsetting.
I was high on Sims too. This is why you don't put prospects in your top 15, right? And that's right. Like, don't put them in your top 15 because they could do that to you when they face someone decent.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And somehow some of them got championship belts. Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney. Sorry, I don't know how that came out. Apologies. Just allergic to bullshit. Let's move on to another welterweight prospect, so to speak. Blair Cobbs defeating, what's his name? Samuel Cote. I don't know how to pronounce that last part. Who's the worst prospect? I asked this in the chat, Gary. Who's the worst prospect? Joey Spencer or Blair Cobbs?
And Cote fought someone. If you pull up his box, I remember his name from years ago.
I have it right. Hold on, let me pull it up. Keep talking.
Who's the worst prospect between those two? Boy, Cobbs looked awful.
Shit. He fought Anthony Peterson.
There you go. I knew the name.
For those who don't know, Lamont Peterson's brother, who wasn't as good as Lamont, but a good, decent top 30-ish guy.
Cobbs is still the better prospect. Joey Spencer sucks, man. Like that guy's not good. He got walked back by a guy who had one knockout in 18 fights. It's like, no. I mean, look, I was not impressed with Cobbs.
But then who's better, Cobbs or Rocha? Obviously, Rocha fought a much better opponent.
Rocha.
Okay. Yeah. Cobbs is just one of those guys where he's quite basic, and he doesn't set up anything. He's a really bad boxer puncher. Like, he doesn't use a jab, and even like when he wants to hook on the inside, he stands so tall, stands so upright. Like, he just does things that make me go, who's training you? Like, who's in your camp going, hey, this is the stuff right here, man. What are you doing right here in this sparring session? Perfect. Keep doing it. Because, again, he's going to get knocked out, I think, pretty fast against some top 20-ish, top 30-ish guys. I'm not impressed by him at all. I think he's pretty pedestrian. He's entertaining as like a person. I think he's a fun individual, but he's a top 50 guy, and that's kind of his ceiling.
Prediction: Raymond Guajardo gets more meaningful wins and is in more meaningful fights than Cobbs, Spencer, or Rocha.
That's probably not true.
Prediction.
Due to one simple thing. Guajardo is not really push at all, and Blair Cobbs is push, man. Oh, my God. Like, the Golden Boy seems to love Blair Cobbs for some reason.
You can't love him after that performance.
But they do. The zone loves Blair Cobbs. I think because he's a walking meme to a degree. For like the zone's a social media app, for fuck's sake. That's what it seems like. And Blair Cobbs is perfect for social media. He is that generation through and through. What else was on this card as I pull it up? Come on, phone. I don't. Oh, the Alejandro Reyes fight. I'm trying to remember what happened in that fight. Better Milikuziev. He fought some guy that should never be fighting ever again. Gary, you can beat him. Okay.
I have some skills though. Like I still have some skills.
I will bet money on every single person listening to this show beating that guy.
It really makes you wonder where they find these guys, right? I mean, Milikuziev is a guy with a world of ability, and like get him something. Like
No, I understand because his original opponent, I forget, it was Marco Antonio Parabon. That was a good opponent, right? And he went to the hospital the day before the weigh-in. I forget for what. I don't think they even released it. Prayers out to Parabon if something's serious happening with him. And this opponent came in on literally a day's notice. So I don't. I understand it, but holy shit, I don't want to see this guy ever again. Though, still, I don't. I was so bad. I was legitimately concerned for his opponent in there. I thought he was going to get hurt, like seriously hurt. But that's all I really remember from the card. Gary, any other sort of thoughts on the undercard at all? Milikuziev, anything like that?
No, I think Milikuziev is a guy with a world of ability and talent that we're going to be seeing again. But obviously, you can't tell anything from that opponent in that performance. But real quick, back to Ryan Garcia. Real quick,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Ryan Garcia looked more comfortable in exchanges and more comfortable in the pocket. But we still don't know where he is defensively because he hasn't really eaten any shots in his last two fights. But he did look more comfortable, at least a lot more comfortable. In the exchanges, where it used to be like he wants to back out and then reset and then try to walk you backwards, right? Like he never really wanted to be in the exchanges. He looked better. So there's a lot of good things from Ryan Garcia, a guy that I've had.
We all have. I think the entire boxing community has crapped on Ryan Garcia for years now. And he, I think, has heard the criticism and improved. Like to a similar degree of like Andrade, right? Like it's clear that these guys, to some degree, are paying attention to the tea leaves. What's happening out there, and they understand how they need to improve, and some of them are making those improvements. And Ryan Garcia is completely, and plus he's so young, so athletically gifted. He is gonna keep improving, in my opinion. Like he is gonna be a force in the lightweight and junior welterweight and welterweight division for the next 10 years, possibly. Same with Devin Haney, maybe even Shakur Stevenson, because he has the size to really jump up in weight, in my opinion. We could see a lot of great Teofimo Lopez as well. We could see a lot of young fighters that fight each other, contend in that weight range from 135 to 147 for the next 5-10 years that are the next generation. We're seeing them come up into their own right now, and it's great to see.
You forgot Tanahara too, of course.
I did on purpose.
Tanahara, I don't like. He's not as big as Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney, so I don't see him going up those high weight classes. I think 135 is kind of where he's going to spend his entire career.
Leonard giving a spoiler of the Showbox card tonight, saying Cruz just upset Matisse on Showbox. Go back and watch that Showbox card probably, but then again, I feel like such dog shit tonight. Which, by the way, I've been deathly ill and throwing up all day, so that's why I'm not at the Golden Boy card or the Mike Garcia press event that was earlier. Apologies. Trust me, I'm more upset than any of you guys. So next event that rolls around, don't worry, I'll be there unless I'm fucking ill again and want to die. But Gary, I think that's gonna be it for this show, man. Any final thoughts? Ryan Garcia looked great, turning the corner, and I think he's probably gonna be vying for a championship in the next 18 months, 24 months.
Like, I'll admit when I'm right. I cousin in New York who's a big Giants fan, right? And he goes, "You're still hating on Eli." This is years ago. You're still hating on Eli Manning. When are you going to stop hating on Eli Manning? I said, when Eli Manning stops sucking, right? And he stops leading league in interceptions. And then he won 2 Super Bowls, and I stopped hating on him. So, like, once you prove me wrong, I'll stop hating on you. Ryan Garcia kind of proved me wrong. Like, I thought Fonseca was a good challenge. I thought, he's a pro that was going to be durable and last and make him work and think, but he wasn't. He blew him out. So, hats off to Ryan Garcia. It was a great performance, and I'll stop giving him so much shit because he did a lot better than I anticipated.
That's true. Gary, where can people find you?
Find me on all forms of social media at 3D Boxing Blog, 3D Boxing from Texas to the world. Thank you. God bless.
Find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, on all social media platforms as well. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio if you want to help us support the channel in any financial way. If you're listening on iTunes, drop that 5-star review as well. Have a great night, great evening, wherever you are in the world. Peace.